Shalom, Shalom and welcome. Welcome to the White Rose Family Channel. My name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening nation. Please be advised, I am also recording this for the podcast under the podcast channel name of End Time Reflections. So from time to time I pause or mention the audio recording only, which is on the podcast. I just want you to be mindful of that. Before I get into this sequence of words and messages that are related to the Final Exodus Countdown 2023, I want to say this, my brothers and sisters. I've started an independent playlist for building unity, and it is important that you consider listening to it in sequence, in order, to get the full benefit of this message. In this message, I presented the intro, which to present what to expect in this sequence of messages centered around building unity. I call this part 1, a day. My brothers and sisters, before I get into this message, let me say this, that the views expressed in these words do not necessarily reflect the views of the owners, managers, shareholders, and/or sponsors of this media platform. With that said, let's get started. Building Unity, Part 1, a day. I submit to you, O Yashar'al, it is important for us to begin to realize there are qualifiers for building unity. You see, the Almighty Father provides us instructions, but He also provides us with resources, supplies, where to be, what to do. And I say to you, in unity, O Yashar'al, we discover that we are being drawn by the Almighty Father, as it is described in John 6:44, to Yahusha Mashiach. But before we can start doing anything, it is important. One of the things that's important is to look at our environment in terms of our position, where we're at. What time is it? That time that the Most High draws us. We must begin to understand why it's important for unity, for us to agree when a day begins and when a day ends. You see, O Yashar'al, there will be those that receive orders from the Almighty Father to begin moving at the dawn of day or at the beginning of a day, and use that energy from the rise of the sun or the break of day to as the sun set, as daylight go. Use that energy and then rest for the next day to begin the next morning. But if you think a day begins as it starts to get dark and you start trying to work, and you're going to work until it gets dark the next day, you would have exhausted much energy trying to navigate the darkness, thinking that that's the beginning of a day. Now, I will talk more about this. And see, for those who have different definitions for when a day begins, they will find themselves at sometimes moving prematurely, meaning too soon, or moving slowly, meaning too late. And this can make a big difference in the final Exodus, O Yashar'al. End times demand things that are qualifiers to bring about unity and success. In the coming days, we will see what that means. My brothers and sisters, consider the life in these words. And you may see me or hear me say, consider the life in these words often. Man has tampered with the scriptures, the text. We know that by name replacements, such as Jesus Christ, God and Lord. We know that man have even added their meanings of new moons versus new months and various other things that they have done to tamper with the scriptures. Bear with me for a second, my brothers and sisters. I see something I need to correct. I don't edit these before putting them up. I do some minimum editing, but sometimes I miss things. In the order in which it is. I want you to come with me, Yashar'al, to Genesis 1st chapter, verse 1 through 5. And I say consider the life in these words because as man tampers with it, they can't dictate the spirit of Yahuah. Send in Yahusha's name to teach us and guide us and comfort us. So it is for that reason, as I stated on many occasions, you will not hear me read the text as Elohim, but the Almighty One. Elohim is plural for Almighty Ones. Yahuah is one. Yahusha is his word manifest physically before us and upon the resurrection spiritually before us. The name of Yahusha is a reflection of his word, literally and spiritually. The text is just that, the letter, and it has been tampered with. That's why I say consider the life in them. Pray and seek what the spirit of Yahusha reveals to you from the text that you read. And therefore, we will be able to navigate the different translations of scriptures. Come with me to Genesis 1:1 through 1:5, and I'm reading through the Scriptures version 2009. In the beginning, the Almighty One created the heavens and earth. And the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of the Almighty One was moving on the face of the water. And the Almighty One said, let light come to be. And light came to be. And the Almighty One saw the light that it was good, and the Almighty One separated the light from darkness. And the Almighty One called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning one day. My brothers and sisters, so many people will read this and say, that lets you know that a day begins in evening. They fail to realize that, first of all, Yahuah is light. He is the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end. So he begins with light, and if you read in Revelation's 22nd chapter, you'll see 22nd 5 talks about there's no need of the sun or the moon because the Almighty One's presence will be us. He is the light. And he said, let there be light. And he separated the light from darkness. They forget that it begins with him who is light. And so one of the things that occurs is the way we're taught in the schools, in the homes. Whoever taught us, and people say, well, I taught myself. Unknowingly that they may have witnessed somebody else reading. Comprehension are different among us. When we use our mental faculties to try to understand what the text is saying, we get people saying different things. And I submit to you, Yahuah being Aleph, the beginning, it started with light. Then there came evening. Then morning, light came again. There was a cycle, our brothers and sisters. And it's important for us to realize that it started with the light of Yahuah. And we will understand as we find ourselves in this final Exodus, the importance, or Yashar'al, the importance of knowing when the day began and end. I want you to come with me also and consider the life in these words. 1 Thessalonians 5:5 through 11. 1 Thessalonians 5:5 through 11. Come with me, my brothers and sisters, and understand what is being said, what is being brought to our attention. It says, for you are the sons of light and sons of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. So then we should not sleep as others do, but we should watch and be sober. For those who sleep, sleep at night. And those who and those who get drunk are drunk at night. But we who are of the day should be sober, putting on the breastplate of belief and love, and as a helmet the expectation of deliverance, because the Almighty One did not appoint us to wrath, but to obtain deliverance through our Master Yahusha Messiah, who died for us, so that we, whether awake or asleep, should live together with him. Therefore encourage one another, build up one another, as indeed you do. Yashar'al, we are children of the light, and we will discover that the Almighty Father doesn't change. He created us. Our physiological makeup is designed where we are most productive. We're able to get most things done during daylight. And every cycle of daylight is a time of work, with the exception of Shabbat. And we will learn, O Yashar'al, for building unity, we must yield. There can be no room for compromise. And if you are one who cannot receive this, pray and watch. If you believe the Almighty Father, if you believe his words, he disciplined those whom he loved. He will bring the discipline necessary for those that will be gathered for the final exodus, for those who will be reflecting obedience from his living instructions and guidance. He will show and prove that a day begins from morning to morning. Every morning a day begins. And I don't say sunrise to sunrise, because some days you do not see the sunrise. It's a cloudy day. But daylight comes, O Yashar'al. Morning to morning, daylight comes. And we will discover the cycle of work is during daylight hours. Many brothers and sisters fail to realize that we didn't have electricity and lamps during days of old. And we didn't burn up a lot of trees to make torches for light so we can work at night. And there's a rest from working at the end of a day when the sun goes down, when daylight ends. There's a time of cleaning, eating, resting. But to rest from that cycle of work, we are to do that on that seventh day. And I'll talk about that when I speak on Shabbat. But right now it's important. I want to drive home the importance of why the need to learn when a day begins and ends. In Ephesians 5:6-10, it says, "Let no one deceive you with empty words." You see, many people are passing on this thing of when a day begins and ends because that's what the majority do. That's what other people are saying. Some will be as reckless as to say, because Yahuwah's ways aren't our ways, to justify getting the day wrong. My brothers and sisters, the ways of Yahuwah aren't the ways of our flesh. But as we walk filled with the Spirit, as we walk in obedience and reflect what is ordered by him, then what we do are the ways of Yahuwah when we are walking filled with the Spirit, under his anointing, under his guidance, and being obedient. It said, "Therefore, do not become partakers with them. So you were once in darkness, but now you are light in the Master. Walk as children of light. For the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness and righteousness and truth, proving what is well pleasing to the Master." My brothers and sisters, we will know the value of literal light and the value of becoming aware of set apart guidance, instructions, and orders. Come with me to Proverbs chapter 4, verse 18-20, my brothers and sisters. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 18-20 reads, "But the path of the righteous is like the light of dawn that shines ever brighter into the perfect day." The light of dawn. It say the way of the wrong is like darkness. They do not know at what they stumble. My son, listen to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Do not jump and think you understand when the day begins just because this is what Damascus have been doing. Many multitudes erroneously fail to recognize when the day begins, fail to even identify the cycles of work. The Almighty Father wouldn't tell us to start doing things without giving us an environment to complete those tasks. He didn't just tell Adam to just start tending to the garden and naming other animals at night. He wouldn't have been able to see. And he couldn't do it in a moment. It took time. It took work. And I submit to you that was during the day. And as darkness came, and he rested and woke up at more daylight, the work continued. Cycles of work, my brothers and sisters, we will discover that the Almighty Father is consistent with much of the instructions he has given us. But we have ignored it. We have disregarded it. Some will even fight and battle and argue on when the day begins and ends. Discern the consistencies in Abba Yahuwah's ways, O Yashar'al. Consider the life and what these words mean. Come with me to Malachi chapter 3, verse 6. Malachi chapter 3, verse 6. For it reads this, For I am Yahuwah, I shall not change, and you, O sons of Yaakov, shall not come to an end. I want you to also come with me to James 1:16 and 17. James 1:16 to 17 says, Do not go astray, my beloved brothers. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no change nor shadow of turning. You see, my brothers and sisters, he's consistent with light. He's consistent with a day. He's consistent with letting us know the importance of being in an environment that we are able to see, working at a time when we are able to physically see. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, know when the day begins, know when the day ends. For many will get left behind because their measurements of time is off. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, throughout scriptures, there are recurring patterns. If we look at, even with Adam and Eve, there was instruction for life. And then after that, there was a need to know the difference between right or wrong, where Yahuwah told them, don't eat of this fruit. That's just like instructions of life, know the difference between right or wrong. At some point, some will get it quicker than others, then others will get it. And even as others get it and proclaim it and are happy that they receiving set of partners, there's still to be the stumbling and falling. Because as a result of the sin of one man, we are physically born into sin. Drawn by Yahuwah to Yahusha. Yashar'al, or Yashar'al, to those of whom the physical presence of Yahusha was not walking the earth yet, they look forward to the completion of the plan of the Almighty Father. They look forward to the coming of the Mashiach, Yahusha, his sacrifice, his resurrection. Yashar'al, or Yashar'al, reoccurring patterns. With Musha, Passover, there was instructions given. They followed them instructions and lived. And as they continued to progress towards the freedom from captivity, Yashar'al stumbled and fell. And some got what needed to be done quicker than others. And the numbers grew. It's the same sequence of Yashar'al. Same sequence that I talk about in the 7 major feast days. Instructions to life. Discerning good and evil. Recognizing some will get it quicker than others. Recognizing that others get it in mass numbers, we will rejoice, we will make a joyful noise. We will, in making that joyful noise, acknowledge the presence of Yahuwah. In Yahusha's name, we will recognize, and with so much excitement, with so much joy, we'll stumble, we'll misstep from time to time. Thus, the need for atonement, forgiveness, the need to recognize after atonement this tabernacle, that in this tabernacle is a spirit, that inward man. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, there are reoccurring patterns from Adam and Eve to the Passover of Musha to the great purposes presented in the 7 major feast times, to even with the time of Yahusha walking the face of the earth. There was instructions to life. There was a need to learn how to discern between right and wrong. There was a need to learn that some will get it quicker than others. There's a need of how to manage as the numbers swell. This seems redundant to you, O Yashar'al, but these are factors necessary for identifying a day and for building unity. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, we must discern the need for order in our movement and in work. Otherwise, some will be tired quicker than others because they thought the day began when it started getting dark. So they strained their eyes, or they wasted trees by burning wood. Some will misstep. But make no mistake, as end times ramp up, there will be those who will learn to obey the living words of the Almighty Father as it flows to us and through us in Yahusha's name. Yahusha representing the living word, the living spirit of Yahuah. And we will learn, my brothers and sisters, in this exodus, in this movement, in our work, how to measure a day, when to measure a day. Come with me, O Yashar'al. Be advised, work is a must. Consider these words. And while I speak on work, each of us have different talents, different skill sets, different abilities. And we will learn why the Almighty Father equipped us with such, and learn how to demonstrate and utilize these abilities, these talents, correctly. 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 10 and 11. For it reads, O Yashar'al, 2 Thessalonians 3, 10 and 11, for even when we were with you, we commanded you this, if anyone does not wish to work, neither let him eat. For we hear of some among you walking disorderly, not working at all, but are busybodies. Do you know physical work could be cutting wood? Physical work could be examining the words that are going forward to make sure they are indeed of Yahuah or not. Physical work can be in our teachings, examining, vetting, judging. Physical work can be in cleaning, building. Anything that generates actions can be defined as work. And we would be wise to know, what work are we doing? Are we working our eyes, our ears, our mouth? Are we working with our hands, our feet? It says here in the 11th verse, 3:11, 2 Thessalonians, for we hear of some among you walking disorderly, not working at all, but are busybodies. You see, O Yashar'al, timing is important. There will be assignments given. Just as we have chosen leaders, anointed leaders from the Almighty Father, we will learn that in leadership and structure, there will be orders given. There will be assignments given. There will be times, there will be guards guarding at night, the camps of Yahuah, as we gradually gather and the numbers get larger and larger. There's a structure that will resemble the wheels of Ezekiel. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, are you prepared to receive the assignments given by the anointed of Yahuah? In Yahusha's name, are you prepared to give assignments? Discern the words from the Almighty Father. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, beware of individuals who do not understand true discernment. You see, those who can't discern will fight against, kick against the pricks, mislead, misinstruct, demonstrate atrocities, thinking that is true set apartness. Beware of those who do not understand true discernment. For they bear false witness against the obedient. And we have an obligation to know how to vet, how to seek what is true. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. There's a beauty in unity. Consider the life in these words written in Psalms. Psalms 133. 133, 1 through 3. It says, see how good and how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. That unity requires work, including knowing when the day begins to end. Like the precious oil on the head running down on the beard of Aaron, running down on the collar of his robes. Like the dew of Hermon that comes down on the mountains of Sion. For there Yahuah commanded the blessing, life forever. Unity, brother, is a beauty. And this is a beauty we will witness in the final Exodus. In the coming days ahead, it would be wise to recognize the need to yield to correction. When we see we've misstepped, when we see we are in error, when corrections come, let's examine it. And if it is indeed corrections, let us yield. Let us repent and turn. The quicker we can do that, we get under the blood and bury the mistakes by the blood of the Lamb. But we don't stop there. Through the quickening of the Spirit of Yahusha, we rise up anew and press forward, pressing into one another, drawing closer together. In the coming days ahead, O Yashar'al, these words will have strength, more so now than ever before. We must recognize the qualifiers for unity, my brothers and sisters. We must understand managing milk and meat. There will be those who have a hard time understanding, those who have a hard time grasping what the word is saying, comprehending what the Spirit is saying versus what the mind is trying to say, well, this is what I got out of it. We must see what the Spirit presents to us and our spirit presents to our mind, and we speak with set apartness, with strength, with power. We must understand even a grown man, even an elder could be still on milk because they fail to discern the fullness of the words from Yahuah, instructions, the order. Meat are for those who understand the need to chew a little more. Break it down and prepare it for our body's absorption. And just as we do that literally, we should do with that in communicating with one another. Why are you doing this? Why do you believe this? Where did you get this from? Let's chew on the meat. And if we have a hard time chewing on the meat, let us go back to the milk until such a time we are ready to transition into meat. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. Regarding milk and meat, come with me, my brother, my sister. Come with me to 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 1 through 3. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 1 through 3 reads, and I, brothers, was not able to speak to you as to spiritual ones, but as to fleshly, as to babes in Messiah. I fed you with milk and not with solid food, for until now you were not able to receive it. And even now you are still not able, for you are still fleshly. For since there is envy and strife and division among you, are you not fleshly and walking according to man? You see, my brothers and sisters, when we walk in the Spirit, filled with the Spirit of Yahusha brings understanding, brings unity. It brings us to a point that we're able to identify when a day begins and ends, and more. I reiterate that because that's what this segment is about, my brothers and sisters. Can you receive the Spirit of Yahusha letting you know what shall be done during the day, when the day begins to end? Or are you seduced or entrapped because you see so many people getting it wrong. Are you able to recognize where there's envy and strife and division? If it's not the division that Yahusha ordered for us to come away or purge, then it is a division that is unfruitful and wicked. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, come with me also to Hebrews chapter 5, verse 12 and 13. Hebrews chapter 5, verse 12 and 13. It reads, for indeed, although by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you again the first elements of the words of the Almighty One. And you have become such as need milk and not solid food. For everyone partaking in milk is inexperienced in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. My brother, my sister, the word of righteousness, is it the text that comes first? Or is it he that is the Aleph and the Tah, the Spirit of Yahuah that comes first? And the reflection of his word is brought to us in the text. And even though man has tampered, the Spirit makes alive, brings understanding and instructions. So I'm not saying throw the text away, throw the different translations out. Seek to where they point you to. As the Spirit makes alive within you, me, within us. Learn to understand what occurs in these tabernacles, known as our bodies. Yashar'al, or Yashar'al, meat and milk. Let us avoid our ego because we're grown, or we've been in the Word, or we've been studying, or because we read the scriptures over and over from cover to cover. Let us not allow our egos to prevent us from receiving correction, for in this final Exodus, in these final days ahead, unity will come. And we will understand that it would be wise to quickly release the erroneous teaching that a day begins when it starts to get dark. Choose your side wisely. Will you, who consider yourself a child of light, make more important the elements of darkness, physical and spiritual? There's a consistency in the patterns with the Almighty Father. There's a consistency in his teachings. There's a consistency in the routine of work. There's a consistency of knowing when to rest. Yashar'al. My brothers and sisters, building unity requires us to know how, to know when a day begins and ends. Begin to come away, O Yashar'al. Do not be afraid of leaving a camp or community, a fellowship or a group, because they look at a day as starting from darkness to darkness. Do not be afraid to leave the teachings of someone that says today is only when the morning comes and then when it starts to get dark, because they're looking at just daylight. It's a cycle of work, a cycle of teachings and resting as you come in from the fields into your tent or your homes or your dwelling place, and wake up and the cycle begins again until that seventh cycle. And we are to rest and do no servitude. And I'll speak more on Shabbat, but right now the emphasis on understand, for us to begin to walk in set apartness, for us to begin to walk in obedience, we must understand what the conditions must be. And knowing a day is critical. The reason why I've spent so much time talking about it and defining it. Let it sink in, O Yashar'al. We must learn how to choose our positions wisely. Hear the example I present in Numbers 16th chapter, verse 23 through 33. This was the time when Korah, Dathan, and Abiram rose up against Musa and Aaron, rose up against the leadership of Yahuah. Let me read an excerpt, but I encourage you to read the entire 16th chapter of Numbers. But 16:23 through 33 reads, and Yahuah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the congregation, saying, Move away from around the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. So Mushai rose up and went to Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Yashar'al followed him. And he spoke to the congregation, saying, Please turn away from the tents of these wrong men. Do not touch whatever belongs to them, lest you be consumed in all their sins. Then they moved away from around the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. And Dathan and Abiram came out and stood at the door of their tents with their wives, their sons, and their little children. And Mushai said, By this you know that Yahuah has sent me to do all these works, that they are not from my own heart. If these, speaking of Dathan, Korah, Abiram, and his household, and those who followed him, he said, if these die as all men do, or if they are visited as all men are visited, Yahuah has not sent me. So in other words, if things go on as normal, Yahuah didn't send them. He goes on to say, and this is Mushai or Moses, but if Yahuah creates what is unheard of, and the earth opens its mouth and swallows them up with all that belongs to them, and they go down alive into Sheol, then you shall know that these men have scorned Yahuah. And it came to be, as he ended speaking all these words, that the ground under them split apart, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, with their households and all their men, and Korah and with all their goods. So they and all those with them, went down alive into Sheol, and the earth closed over them, and they perished from the midst of the assembly. You see, O Yashar'al, choose your side. The Almighty Father does not change. He's consistent. And I would say to you that this is an example of a sinkhole that opened and closed. And we will witness in the coming days if we fail to choose our sides wisely. We may find ourselves suffering the same fate as Dathan, Korah, and Abiram. Beware of those who use the word fearmongering. As I present messages, and I've heard others present messages regarding end times and what's coming, and what to expect and what to do, there are people that say, he's fearmongering. They're fearmongering. My brothers and sisters, we are not to fear what man can do, but fear is the substance of hearing from the word of Yahuah. Fear is the need, the necessity for us to pause and not be quick to argue and debate one another. Fear is what brings pause for us to examine what indeed the Almighty Father is saying to us, in us, through us, one towards another, in the name of Yahusha. Consider these passages, O Yashar'al, before you succumb or be overtaken by someone falsely accusing the obedient as fearmongering. Consider Proverbs 1:7. The fear of Yahuah is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and discipline. And it is fools who bear false witness against the obedient when it comes to fear. They'll say, I don't fear no man, I don't fear no man. But they don't say, I fear Yahuah. Therefore I pause, I walk praying without ceasing, seeking each day to be sensitive to his spiritual guidance, seeking each day to discern the set-apart words coming from a brother or a sister, whether it be from a pastor, a deacon, a moray, a teacher, a spiritual influencer, those anointed by the Almighty Father, a brother or sister anointed to speak words of set-apartness. In that fear of Yahuah, let us pause and be mindful of what we must do to pass judgment on what we are hearing and seeing. And that judgment must be done righteously, not by outward appearance only, but by discerning what the Spirit of the Almighty Father has to say. Consider Proverbs 3:7. Proverbs 3:7 say, do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear Yahuah and turn away from evil. See, so don't just trust your physical eyes and say, well, I know this is that, and this is that, and this is the way things should be. Fear Yahuah and turn away from evil. Turn away from depending on the flesh, your mental faculties, to define the actions before you, before us. Let us turn and recognize what Yahuah has to say on the matter or matters. Fearmongering oftentimes is a distraction, a divergence, diverting you from fearing Yahuah. Proverbs 9:10 says, the fear of Yahuah is the beginning of wisdom. The fear of Yahuah is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the set-apart one is understanding. I cannot say enough, O Yashar'al. Obedience to the Spirit of the Almighty Father, Yahuah, who comes to us in Yahusha's name, working through us one towards another, bringing the instructions, the orders. I cannot stress enough how obedience can help us manage pain and regret. For as this pandemic ramp up, O Yashar'al, as earthquakes increase and volcanic activity increase, as climate conditions change, as civil unrest and wars become more and more intense, O Yashar'al, it is important for us to know and recognize the anointing of Yahuah. To receive, it is important for us to recognize the anointing that comes to us for us to give, to do, to respond. These are actions that can be defined as work. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, what say you? I cannot stress enough. Discerning when a day begins and ends is critical. At the very least, a final exodus requires a coming together. I have done a series called The Closing Scroll on this channel, on White Rose Family Channel on YouTube. It's called The Closing Scroll. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, I invite you to go to YouTube, White Rose Family Channel, and look for the playlist that say Closing Scroll, and you will get some idea of details of what's coming and details of what we should be doing and how we should be doing it. I urge you strongly, O Yashar'al, to see the relevance in that sequence called The Closing Scroll. See the relevance as it relates to the final Exodus, Countdown 2023. See the relevance as it requires us knowing the importance of a day when it begins and ends. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, I salute your patience. I salute your pursuit of set-apartness, your tolerance, your patience, your desire to know what the Almighty Father has to say. There's so much work to be done, and there are the anointed ones who can and have been equipped with what it takes to validate what task must be done. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, I say attention. The final Exodus and more requires us to recognize order during movement. And it would be wise to know when the day begins and ends. Let us help one another to understand the importance of moving into unity and how there are certain qualifiers, requisites, things that must occur to bring our understanding into subjection to what is true, what is righteous. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, my prayer is that you are in good health. My prayer is that we're able to endure whatsoever physical condition we're in, whatsoever state, and wherever we may be, that we are empowered to recognize the strength to endure until the end. My prayer, O Yashar'al, more than anything, is that we can discern the voice of the Spirit of Yahusha, speaking to us in spirit directly or through another, as we work one towards another, being bound together to complete the final Exodus in order to be martyrs for Yahusha's name, or to complete whatever end-time task that has been given to us. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, help me, for I am compelled to believe with all my heart, body, and soul that I am a contributor towards the gathering of Yashar'al in the Western Hemisphere before we make that journey to the Promised Land, centered around the most majestic mountain, the true Mount Sinai, situated in the northwest quadrant of what is known as Saudi Arabia, known right now to the Saudis and many as Jabal Allah, the true Mount Sinai. As we gather from the four corners of the earth, we will center around it, with Mount Sinai being as the axis, the axle of Ezekiel's wheel, and all that is around it will be the structure of Yashar'al. And I speak on this. Come, O Yashar'al, and understand there are details, there are processes, there are qualifiers, there are things that must be done. Help me. Make known your abilities and skills, O Yashar'al. Make known your resources and supplies. Come together, O Yashar'al. Let us come together as we find ourselves ordered. For many will find a stirring within their spirit, saying, move now. And some will say, they're receiving stirring that say, prepare to move. And some will have, take these things with you. So many details, so many moving parts. And there will be leaders that will confirm and validate the orders from the Almighty Father. Help me, O Yashar'al. If at the very least, while money has some value, financially consider supporting the moving parts that will bring Yashar'al together. I have a cash tag, White Rose Family. Consider contributing, O Yashar'al. And even if you don't see yourself in this final exodus, sponsor, support it. Know that you would have helped and contribute towards the things that the Almighty Father is doing for his children to fulfill his promises. And these such things will come to be. For the Almighty Father harden hearts and soften hearts. But know this, it will come to be. The things that are needed will be presented. Trust and believe, O Yashar'al. On that note, I thank you for your time. I salute your pursuit of set apartness and your desire to do the will of the Almighty Father. I come to you. My name is Symmanayah, and I come to you in the name of Yahusha, saying, take heed to these words. Know when the day begins and when the day ends. For upon receiving instructions to life, as we begin to work, we must know when to work, when to stop, when to pause, when to move, when to be still. On that note, O Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, behold, the hand of the Almighty Father is intensifying before our very eyes. Stay tuned, for there is much more to come. On that note, Shalom. Shalom, my brother, my sister, my family.